I will admit that I was wrong. I had originally predicted that Herschel Walker would win this election. So I got this wrong. I also want to make the disclaimer, like I always do when talking about politics, that I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. But I would like to break down why Herschel Walker lost. I think he lost for several reasons. First off, my reasoning for why he would win is that I believed Georgia was such a hardcore Republican state that you could run any candidate for a Republican position and they would win. Hell, I felt you could run even an animal, like such as a dog, as a Republican, and that dog would beat any Democratic challenger. So I was grossly wrong about it. I think I think just the way this election turned out, it shows that Georgia could be a purple state. It could be a light red state. I define a light red state is a state that barely goes Republican by a margin of like 51 to 49. For example, I look at North Carolina more as a light red state than a purple state because they tend to elect Republican candidates by that type of margin of victory. So in that range. And so I think one of the reasons why Herschel Walker lost was just Warnock was better at getting his message across more so about what he could do for the people. For instance, he talked about capping insulin prices, so that was very popular. I don't think Herschel Walker talked about what he had to offer really, other than just more so insulting Warnock and telling people why they shouldn't vote for Warnock, but not so much why they should vote for him. So I think that was one of the reasons that cost Herschel this race. The second reason I would say Herschel was just a terrible candidate. Just this guy sounded like he was suffering from like a cognitive deficit when he talked. Like you could tell that the hits had added up from his football career, that this guy was a brain dead idiot. So I think he was just a bad candidate, just bad at messaging. And he just didn't look like he was mentally right. There was that moment during one of the debates where he took out his badge and said that he was a cop, I believe. So that really was a convincing argument to vote for him. Just he looked like a pretty dumb guy, I have to say. So I think part of the part of the reason why he lost was he didn't look like he met the qualifications of their job, that he could convince enough people that he was trustworthy of that position, and mentally he just didn't look stable. So I think that cost him. I would say the third thing that screwed him over was the Kemp effect. Kemp is a very popular governor in Georgia, and Herschel Walker benefited from this during the election several weeks ago, in which both their names were on the on were on the form to vote, so they were both together. So that helped out the voters tremendously. I would say that helped out Herschel Walker tremendously in the sense that the voters who were voting for Kemp were mostly Republicans, so they were going to vote for Walker on the ballot also. So that was huge in that regard. So these guys probably normally wouldn't vote for Walker simply because they probably didn't respect him. And also there's a racial aspect to it. He's black. There's a lot of hardcore Republicans who wouldn't be down with a black candidate. They voted for him simply because Kemp was on the ballot, and that influenced them to also place a vote for Walker, where I feel this time around the turnout was lower, and these same people who voted for Kemp wasn't going to make the effort to vote for Walker. They don't respect him, so they decided to stay at home. I think that was a huge reason why Warnock was going to win, because those people weren't there to cause any problems in the sense that they could have disrupted his chances of winning this race. So that was huge. Trying to think if there's any other reasons. I would say the scandals Herschel Walker got caught up in, such as it being revealed that he paid off his former girlfriend to get an abortion when he was saying that he was anti-abortion and he was this great family man. Just I think that painted a bad picture of him and probably turned off a lot of voters. And then there's that feud with his son Christian. So that played a huge role. All those things came together and it was like a snowball effect and it took him out. Still, with that being said, I don't think Warnock won by a huge margin in this race. I think it might have been something like 51 to 49. Okay, I'm just reading here. I think it was like 51.4 to 48.6. So that's That's a very close race right there that he won. I'm just trying to do the math in my head. So he won by like 2.8 points. So that's a very small margin of victory, I would say. But I think that should also show that Georgia's somewhere between being a light red state and a purple state. I have to wonder if the Republicans have ran a generic white Republican candidate, a boring guy who was an extremist, could Warnock have won? I don't think he would have, but we'll see. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the next 6 years when Warnock has to run for re-election. I don't think he'll be gifted an easy opponent like Herschel Walker again. So that will be something to see if he can keep his spot. And we'll see if Georgia's a legit purple state in the next 2 years. If they vote blue again, I think the Republicans should worry. I have a rule, which is if a state votes for either party 3 straight times in a presidential election, three straight presidential elections, they vote for one party, then that state is firmly in that party's it's firmly down with that party. So that's, for example, Virginia, I look at it as a Democrat state because they have voted blue more than 3 times now: 2008, 2012, 2016, 2020, 2024. But to me, they became officially a blue state in 2016. I think Republicans have to be careful this decade. If they lose Georgia in 2024 and then lose it in 2028 presidential elections, then they've lost a major state that can really transform the map when it comes to U.S. politics. And that will be very interesting. I don't have anything else to say.